It's a Small World is one of the last remaining attractions running in the Disney parks that was originally created by Walt Disney. But ever since the ride opened, some very, very strange things have been happening on the ride. Before we get started, these stories are creepy, just like the ride. Our first story follows a woman who was riding the ride with her family. As she was riding, she noticed something scratching at the bottom of the boat. She assumed it was probably just the old ride track scratching at the bottom of the boat, but curiosity got the better of her and she decided to look down under the boat to see what was happening. And once she looked under the water, she noticed a Small World doll smiling back at her, staring. This of course freaked the woman out, causing her to scream. Once she screamed, all of the dolls in the area then turned to look at her, and the ride shut down.
Where you off to next?
We're going to see It's a Small World!
Small world. Of course you are. Why did I even ask that question?
Another story follows a little boy who was riding the ride with his family. As he was passing the African pavilion, he noticed that the dolls were openly speaking to him. They kept asking him if he wanted to come live with them in their village. Then he somehow fell out of his boat and nearly drowned. And these stories are just the tip of the iceberg. For years now, stories have been told about the dolls switching places, disappearing, reappearing, and straight up moving on their own, leaving people to believe that these dolls are either alive and well or possibly possessed. I mean, it's no secret that for years now, people have been spreading the ashes of their loved ones on the Disney rides, including the Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, and Small World.
Impassioned Disney fans are taking their love for the theme park to a whole new level. They're choosing to have their ashes scattered in the happiest place on earth.
We went right to Small World because that's what we've always done. That was my mom's favorite ride.
She sprinkled some of her mom's ashes on the popular ride.
This could be the answer to this strange occurrence. Or there could be something way stranger happening at Disney World that we're just not ready to understand. I mean, whenever you're the biggest company in the world and you have all the money in the world, you get bored. And when you get bored, you do some very weird stuff. Some very unethical stuff. However, for years, the only evidence that we had of these strange occurrences were word of mouth. That was up until 1999. One day in 1999, a kid was riding the ride with his family. All of a sudden, the ride was shut down and evacuated. As they were being evacuated, the cast members told everybody on the ride to please just face straight forward until they exited the vehicle. Now, this was the last ride of the vacation, and the mom still had some remaining space on her camera, so she just decided to start snapping random photos to fill up the empty space. Because that makes sense. Weeks later, the photos were finally developed, and in one of these random photos, you could clearly see a hanging body of a child. The body is hung very highly off the ground. The family was disturbed, of course, and demanded answers. They emailed Disney and got no response. They called Disney and got no response. Years later, the narrator finally decided to go ask face to face. And when he brought up that tragic day, he was immediately kicked out of the park. No answers have been given. Some people chalk this up to just being a puppet that's somehow stuck up there, and others claim that this child might just be a victim of these dolls. Disney being one of the most powerful companies in the world, we'll never know. Recently, it's been reported that the music on the ride never stops. This has made many people speculate that maybe the music keeps the dolls at bay. For some reason, the music seems to have an effect on the dolls that keeps them behaving, or keeping their pranks very, very tame. By that I mean spinning their heads in 360-degree motions like The Exorcist, and staring at specific guests until they exit the portion of their ride. Now, I don't know what to think of these stories. They're very, very creepy, and there's no evidence to back up that they're true. There's no evidence to back up that they're not true. They could very easily just be creepypastas. Either way, it's a fun thing to think about. The scariest thing that happened to me on that ride was one time it broke down while we were inside of it, and that music is very annoying. But to make matters worse, we were in this room where I want to say like all the decorations were white, and specifically over where we were, there was a hot air balloon with clowns in it, and we were about to go under them, but instead we stopped like a few feet in front of them, so the entire time we were stuck there directly in front of these clowns who were looking down at us and like doing this weird like chittery giggle. And then I was like 9 years old and terrified of clowns. So I didn't want to like give off that I was creeped out, but I think it was very clear that I was creeped out. But I don't know what I'd do, man, if the dolls just started talking to me one day. Or if I looked at a doll and its head just spun 360 degrees. But let me know what you guys think of these stories. I'd be very, very curious to hear what you guys think. So as always, guys, be nice to each other.
Really trying just to fix my life up right, but I really get so lost just off my track. I'ma need you, God, I'ma need you. You're the only one